You think if you love her harder, give her more, sacrifice more, prove more, she'll finally choose you fully. But the brutal truth is this: women are rarely loyal to what you do for them. They are loyal to the emotional reality they experience when they are with you. Let that hit you before you try to argue with it, because most men have been trained to believe the lie. Be useful, be available, be generous, be patient, be understanding, be the man who never makes it difficult. And then they sit there confused when the woman they poured into starts pulling away, disrespecting them, testing them, or replacing them with a man who did less for her on paper but made her feel more of something real. More certainty, more tension, more groundedness, more direction, more emotional safety through strength, not servitude. And if you need regular reminders that the truth matters more than your feelings, subscribe to this channel now, because you do not need more comforting lies. You need correction. You need clarity. You need somebody to tell you what your excuses will never tell you. Here's what this really means. It does not mean women are cold. It does not mean kindness is useless. It does not mean you should become arrogant, manipulative, or emotionally dead. It means this: nobody stays loyal to effort they do not respect. Nobody bonds deeply to sacrifice that feels desperate. Nobody values what is given without standards, without structure, without self-respect attached to it. People do not stay because you gave the most. They stay because your presence feels solid, your identity feels real, and your value does not collapse the moment they withhold affection. That is the thesis. Read it again in your mind. Women are not loyal to the list of things you did. They are loyal to the emotional experience of who you are, your energy, your standards, your direction, your steadiness, your ability to remain yourself in the presence of desire. And this is where most men lose the game before it even starts, because they make the oldest mistake in the book. They confuse giving with value. They confuse compliance with character. They confuse overinvestment with love. They think, if I just show her how much I care, she'll feel safe enough to love me back. No, not if the way you care is rooted in fear. Not if the way you give is an attempt to secure approval. Not if your generosity is secretly a transaction. That's called covert contract behavior. You do for her. You listen to every problem. You pay for everything. You rearrange your life. You answer every text immediately. You make yourself emotionally available at all times. You tolerate disrespect because you don't want to lose her. You become soft where you should be clear. You become needy where you should be grounded. You become reactive where you should be calm. And then, when she doesn't return that same energy, you feel betrayed. But what you call betrayal is often the collapse of an illusion. You thought she was supposed to reward your effort. She was responding to your frame, and your frame was weak. That's the hard truth. A woman can appreciate what you do and still not feel deeply loyal to you. She can thank you and still not respect you. She can enjoy your attention and still not trust your core. She can benefit from your consistency and still feel no real pull toward your presence. Why? Because the human nervous system responds to what is felt, not what is claimed. She is not just hearing your words. She is reading your emotional position. She is asking, consciously or unconsciously, what kind of man are you when you do not get what you want? What do you stand on? What do you tolerate? What moves you? What breaks you? What owns you? And if the answer is her, you're done. If your mood depends on her attention, you're done. If your confidence rises and falls with her texts, you're done. If your identity becomes the man trying to keep her, you're done. Because now you are no longer meeting her as a man with a life, a mission, a center. Now you are meeting her as a negotiator begging for emotional oxygen. She may not say it out loud. She may not even understand it fully herself, but she feels it. She feels the imbalance. She feels the pressure. She feels that your giving is not clean. It is heavy. It is loaded. It has need hiding inside it. And need without self-awareness always rots attraction. Why does this happen? Because at the root of it, too many men are trying to earn love from the wound they never healed. They are still the boy who thinks, if I perform well enough, I'll finally be chosen. So they turn relationships into auditions. They over-explain, they overhelp, they overcommit, they overgive. Not because they are strong, but because they are scared. Scared to be misunderstood, scared to be abandoned, scared to be seen as not enough. So they throw resources, time, attention, and emotional labor at the problem, hoping quantity will do what character did not establish. But attraction is not built on your willingness to abandon yourself. Let me say that again. Attraction is not built on your willingness to abandon yourself. A woman does not feel secure with a man who throws away his standards to keep peace. She does not feel deeply anchored to a man who says yes to everything, tolerates anything, and hides his truth to avoid conflict. That does not create safety. It creates instability disguised as niceness. Because if you have no edge, no boundary, no rooted identity, then what exactly is she leaning against? What exactly is she trusting? A man who is only calm when he is getting his way is not grounded. A man who is only generous when he expects loyalty back is not generous. A man who is only soft because he is afraid to be firm is not kind. He is compliant. That's called weakness wearing the mask of virtue. Now understand this clearly. The issue is not that you care too much. The issue is that you care without structure. You give without discernment. You attach without standards. You pour into people before they've earned access to that version of you. Then when they fail the test you never clearly set, you call them cruel, selfish, heartless. Maybe sometimes they are. But many times you built the entire dynamic on a broken foundation. You trained her to expect your effort without respecting your center. You trained her that you would stay no matter what. You trained her that your attention had no cost. You trained her that your standards could be negotiated by mood, by beauty, by chemistry, by fear of losing her. You trained her that you had more interest in being accepted than being respected. And people rarely protect what comes too easily. So what does it cost you? Everything. It costs you your voice. You stop saying what you really think. It costs you your peace. You start analyzing every text like it's a life or death code. It costs you your dignity. You tolerate mixed signals and call it patience. It costs you your time. You pour months and years into dynamics that were starving from the start. It costs you your purpose. You stop building your life because your emotional world is trapped inside someone else's reactions. It costs you your nervous system. You become anxious, hypervigilant, needy, resentful. It costs you your self-respect. And once a man loses that, everything in his life starts to leak. You stop training the way you used to train. You stop reading. You stop creating. You stop sleeping well. You stop making clean decisions. You stop trusting yourself. You stop leading your own life. You stop being the man you were supposed to become because you are too busy trying to be enough for somebody who was never meant to define you in the first place. That is too expensive. And here is the reframe that will save you if you are willing to accept it. Stop asking, how do I make her loyal to me? Start asking, what kind of man am I when loyalty is absent? There's your power, not in controlling her feelings, not in decoding every signal, not in shaping yourself into whatever gets the fastest emotional reward. Your power is in becoming the man whose identity remains intact, whether somebody stays or leaves. The man whose value does not spike when praised and collapse when challenged. The man whose presence is not built on performance, but on congruence. That word matters. Congruence. Congruence means your words, your standards, your emotions, and your actions line up. You do not say you want peace while entertaining chaos. You do not say you value respect while rewarding disrespect. You do not say you are focused while letting romance derail your discipline. You do not say you are a man of purpose while reorganizing your mission around somebody else's moods. Congruence is when your life makes sense. Congruence is when your no means no, your yes means yes, and your silence is not confusion, but control. That is what people feel. That is what they trust. That is what creates gravity. Now picture the man who understands this. He does not hate women. He does not chase revenge. He does not need to dominate the room with noise because he carries weight in stillness. He knows who he is before anybody validates it. He is kind, but not cheap, present, but not available on demand, open, but not leaking. He listens, but he also observes. He desires deeply, but he is not ruled by desire. He can walk away from what dishonors him without turning bitter. He can love without kneeling. He can care without collapsing. He can say, I want you, without saying, my life is nothing without you. That is the man. He has boundaries that do not sound like threats. He has standards that do not need speeches. He has a purpose outside of romance, so love becomes part of his life, not the center of his identity. He does not perform confidence. He practices self-respect. He does not force outcomes. He reads reality. If a woman is warm, consistent, and aligned, he meets that with energy. If she is chaotic, evasive, disrespectful, or half-invested, he does not campaign for clarity. He steps back. He redirects. He protects his mind. He protects his time. He protects his future. And that changes everything. Because now your energy is no longer saying, please choose me. It is saying, I choose what aligns. Now you are no longer trying to survive emotionally through someone else's approval. Now you are evaluating instead of begging. Now you are leading your life again. Do you understand how powerful that is? When a man becomes grounded, women feel it. Not because he is pretending to be distant, not because he learned some trick, but because his nervous system is no longer screaming for reassurance. He is not trying to get picked. He is deciding. He is not trying to impress. He is expressing. He is not flooding the connection with effort to cover insecurity. He is allowing the connection to reveal itself. Reality over fantasy, standards over cravings, self-respect over emotional hunger. That is mature masculine energy. And no, this is not just about dating. This is about your whole life, because the man who overfunctions in relationships usually overfunctions everywhere, at work, in friendships, in family dynamics. He overgives, overexplains, overaccommodates, then quietly resents the people around him for consuming what he never learned to protect. He thinks love is proving. He thinks worth is serving. He thinks saying no makes him dangerous. So he becomes useful instead of powerful, pleasant instead of clear, needed instead of respected. Stop that. Stop trying to win people over with what should have been reserved for those who already showed character. Stop handing out loyalty where there is no reciprocity. Stop treating access to you like it is free. Stop rewarding confusion. Stop negotiating with disrespect. Stop calling self-abandonment love. Do this instead. Slow down your investment. Watch patterns, not words. If she says she values you, look at consistency. If she says she cares, look at behavior. If she says she wants something serious, look at whether peace, honesty, and mutual effort actually exist. Believe rhythm, not promises. Believe actions, not emotional spikes. Believe repeated reality, not isolated moments. Then strengthen your center, train your body, build your discipline, clean up your room, your finances, your schedule, your habits. Get your attention back. You cannot lead your relationships if you cannot lead your mornings. You cannot ask for respect while living in internal disorder. Structure your life so that romance is not your only source of aliveness. Build something. Create something. Master something. Men become dangerous to their own weakness when they are devoted to a mission bigger than their moods. Next, speak plainly. If something bothers you, say it once, clearly, without drama. If a boundary gets crossed, address it. If the pattern continues, leave. Not because leaving feels good, because staying in what degrades you costs more. This is where weak men stall out. They want the reward of boundaries without the consequence of enforcement. But a boundary you never enforce is just a suggestion. That's called self-betrayal. And redirect your need for validation. Stop fishing for reassurance through attention, sex, compliments, and emotional dependency. Learn to generate steadiness from your own conduct. You feel stronger when you keep promises to yourself. You feel clearer when your habits match your values. You feel calmer when your mind is not chasing what your spirit has not vetted. Confidence is not a vibe, it is evidence. It is the memory of self-trust. You want to become more attractive? Become less divided. Become less desperate. Become less negotiable in the places that matter. Become a man who can love fully without giving away his frame. Become a man whose warmth is matched by standards. A man whose generosity has discernment. A man whose presence says, I am here by choice, not by lack. That changes how you date. That changes how you speak. That changes how you walk into a room. That changes what you tolerate. And most importantly, that changes what you no longer chase. Because once you truly understand this, you stop being hypnotized by chemistry alone. You stop worshiping beauty detached from character. You stop confusing your loneliness with destiny. You stop trying to revive dead dynamics with more effort. You stop telling yourself that one more conversation, one more gift, one more apology, one more act of patience will transform someone who keeps showing you they are not aligned. You stop. You stop. You stop. And in that stopping, you start becoming. You start becoming selective. You start becoming clear. You start becoming emotionally sober. You start becoming the kind of man who can recognize a healthy woman because you are no longer addicted to chaos. You start becoming the kind of man who does not need to win every person because he has already won himself back. That is the real victory. Not that every woman wants you. Not that every relationship works. Not that you never feel pain, rejection, or uncertainty again. The victory is that you no longer abandon your values just because you feel desire. The victory is that you no longer turn love into a courtroom where you beg to be found worthy. The victory is that you finally understand your worth is not in how much you can do for someone. It is in how honestly, cleanly, and powerfully you can be yourself. So if you've been the man who overgave, learn from it. Don't drown in shame. If you've been the man who begged, chased, tolerated, and lost himself, good. Now you know the price. Now you know what weakness feels like from the inside. Use it. Let the pain instruct you, not define you. Let the disappointment purify your standards. Let the rejection expose every place you were still outsourcing your identity. You do not need to become colder. You need to become clearer. You do not need to become cruel. You need to become congruent. You do not need to manipulate women. You need to stop manipulating yourself with fantasies that justify your lack of boundaries. You do not need to be loved by everyone. You need to be able to look in the mirror and know you did not trade your soul for temporary affection. That's the shift. Because in the end, the woman who is right for you will not be loyal because you exhausted yourself entertaining her, financing her, rescuing her, and overproving your worth. She will be loyal to the experience of being with a man who knows himself, respects himself, and lives in truth. A man whose actions are clean, a man whose direction is visible, a man whose love is strong because it is freely given, not desperately offered, a man who does not lean on her to become whole. Be that man. And if the woman in front of you cannot meet that standard, bless her and keep moving. Not out of anger, out of alignment, not because she is evil, because she is not your assignment. Your job is not to force loyalty out of misalignment. Your job is to become so anchored in truth that misalignment becomes obvious early. You are not here to perform for love. You are here to embody a life that love can enter without destroying. Read that again in your spirit. You are not here to perform for love. You are here to embody a life that love can enter without destroying. So stand up straight, get your mind back, get your body back, get your standards back, get your mornings back, get your focus back, get your name back from every place you left it begging. Withdraw your energy from fantasy, invest it into discipline, invest it into purpose, invest it into peace. Invest it into becoming the kind of man who does not ask, will she stay, before asking, am I standing in truth? Because you are the answer. Not your money, not your favors, not your endless availability, not your pain, not your performance. You, your clarity, your discipline, your frame, your self-respect, your willingness to walk in reality even when fantasy feels warmer. That is what changes your life. And if you want more truth like this, more clarity like this, more reminders that pull you out of weakness and back into self-respect, subscribe now. Stay close to this message. Stay close to this standard. You are not alone in this. There are men rebuilding themselves in truth every single day. And if that is you, then welcome home.